that games are more than just for straight white dudes? That's what the people who contributed to this book show. Hello everyone, I'm Triple J and welcome to Brain Food, where I tell you what's yummy and nutritious for your head. For today's episode, I am going to be reviewing Game Devs and Others, Tales from the Margin, an anthology of essays edited by Tanya DePass. Tanya DePass is currently the co-host of the Spawn on Me podcast. However, she's best known for her hashtag #INeedDiverseGames and her now since stopped podcast Fresh Out of Tokens. I've long been a fan of Tanya DePass since I discovered her podcast Fresh Out of Tokens a couple years ago. And so when she announced that she was going to be working on a book, I knew I had to buy it. And having read it, I definitely was not disappointed. This collection of essays is from a diverse group of people from across the video game industry, whose jobs are as diverse and varied as their identities themselves. We're talking about people who are writers, developers, programmers, testers, and commentators. Thus, this book provides a much-needed breath of fresh air as it views the video game industry through the lens of the identities of its contributors. As such, I found three main themes running through this book. That is, 1, frustration at having to be the only person that looks like you within a group of almost entirely straight white dudes. 2, the determination to carve out your space and to show to others that, yes, you are like me, yes, video games are for you. And 3, hope and the immense potential of video games as a storytelling medium that can do so much more than running and shooting. Here's one example of frustration felt by a contributor to this book about the video game industry. It is Chapter 13 by Shanna T. Brandt, in which she recalls a discussion she had with a well-meaning white co-worker about the disagreement he had with her over the shaming of racists. As a cishet white man, I can be objective. I mean, you're so close to these experiences. Wouldn't I be better equipped to respond on your behalf when he must have seen the look on my face, because he stuttered and stumbled through the end of that sentiment, even though it had seemed fully formed enough when he got started. No, was all the response I could initially muster. This was that new old logic that women, people of color, were all too emotional to tell our own experiences. Let a white man do it. First time I'd ever encountered it said so explicitly in the wild. Another example of frustration is shared with us by J.C. Lau in her chapter 15, Overcoming the Unicorns. A unicorn is someone who is both queer and Asian, or in this case, a person of color in the video game industry. But here's the thing, being a unicorn, regardless of the parts of your identity that make you get described as such, is neither intentional nor desired. It's tiring and isolating. I am a unicorn for being a queer woman of color in the games industry, a place historically designed so I do not fit in. I am a unicorn because people use the word despite to describe my achievements, rather than refer to my actual talents. Despite the challenges of the industry's sexism and racism, I have somehow managed to get my foot in the door. I'm a unicorn because I exercise absurd amounts of emotional labor daily, from imposter syndrome to tolerating mansplaining and whitesplaining from even the best intentioned co-workers. I'm a unicorn simply because I am an other. On determination, Chapter 19 by contributor Toya Christine Finley gives us a good example of this, in which she discusses how moving away from her family and community in order to make it in the video game business was not an option. If I had moved, I would have had to start all over in terms of finding not just a new job, but a new community. That sounds easy? If you are marginalized, you learn over a lifetime whom you can and can't trust. You can be cool with some friends, but you certainly can't talk to them about some things. I have an internal emotional gauge. There are some conversations I can't have without feeling like I'm being punched in the face, repeatedly. And it doesn't matter if the person I'm talking to agrees with me 100%. It still hurts. If you're not willing to feel like you're being punched in the face when we talk about those things, then don't think I'll be willing to talk to you about them. The psychological cost is too great for me with no sacrifice on your part. With regards to hope, the last of the 3 themes I found running through this book, here are a couple of examples. One comes from chapter 11, written by Stephen Spool, who works to give disabled people a chance to play video games. No real words can describe the amount of life video games can breathe into you. The only analogy that I've ever been able to come up with that comes close is to ask you if you remember the first time someone you were in love with said the magical words, "I love you." That feeling of life pouring into your body, powering your soul, and creating a memory that will stay with you until you draw your last breath and perhaps beyond. Imagine if someone said to you the only thing you had to do to give someone else that feeling is come up with a way for them to enter the world of video games. Well, in that case, you probably spend your life doing what we do too. Another example comes to us via Sharif Jackson's entry into this book, Chapter 7, Laundromat versus Pizza Place. In the last few years, I've been blessed with opportunities to mingle with some of the most respected people in the gaming industry. I've been able to interview some of these people on the Spawn on Me podcast and dive deep into issues of diversity in my GamingLooksGood.com YouTube series. The same optimism that I felt at the laundromat has been present consistently in the majority of my interactions. Many people involved with making games are about love and support, and they are not afraid to show it. Another example comes to us in Chapter 20 by Scout Monroe, Actualization and Action. The words that failed me so frequently before come easier with each post. For the first time, I've had the chance to bond with other players about actually being about to play as a non-binary PC. And I've had talks about the meaning of memory and what the right action is in a world that is falling apart around you. My channel was small, any way you slice it, but the community I am finding as it grows feels powerful. As time goes on, I want to use my voice to help others find theirs, both literally as an actor and as someone once rendered speechless by my peers. I would like to have my community join me in that. We're a quiet little section of the internet, one part of the cacophony of voices in the gaming community, but we are here. What this book does is show a much needed different side to video games, of the people that make them, and show that there are more than just people like me, dudes who are straight, white, cisgendered, able-bodied, and male. These are people with a love of video games who are, quite frankly, I would say, pioneers who are making the inroads needed for the next generation of video game designers to come in and not have to work so hard for it. So please, pick up this book, and when you're done reading it, look at the contributors who wrote for it. Find them online and support them through, likes, views, retweets, shares, or even just giving them some money. They can't do it all alone. This is going to be a group effort in order to make video games a wonderful, diverse place to lose yourself for a few hours of good old entertainment. I'm Triple J. That's all I got left to say. Take care.